in the month of August, my birthday month. Woohoo! I celebrate for a whole month. My birthday is at the beginning of the month, so I celebrate the whole month, not just one day. I feel like I've been waiting a year for my birthday to come. I can at least celebrate that month. And so during the month on my podcast, I want to enlighten you and make you feel happy and focus on some different things. Take a little bit different route this time as we leave the focus of Black, Indigenous people of color, Mental Health Awareness Month. We want to laugh a little bit. So one thing I'm going to do is ask you to leave me a comment on who you think is the greatest comedian ever, or at least the top 3 or 5 greatest comedian ever. You can email me, you can text me, any of that, and let me see what you think. And we want to laugh a little bit, and I want to give you my opinion on who I think are some of the greatest comedians ever that ever lived. And because I like to laugh, I used to like to crack jokes and everything like that. So hit me up, and I was thinking about doing this live. I may do it live if a few of you tell me, hey, look, we'll tune into your live, or we'll listen to it live, because I hate to see when people start a live, even in the church live, they sitting there. We're going to wait for a few more people to sign in before we get started. Yeah. Oh, how you doing, Jim? Yeah, it's just me and you now. Now, I don't want to do that. It's kind of embarrassing to me. I would feel embarrassed if you still had the same 2 people on the same time. So let me know if you want me to do it live, or I'll let you know who I feel first, who are some of the greatest comedians ever, and maybe later on in the month we go live. So hit me up at Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, any of those places. I'm on anchor.fm. You can just type my name in, Antonio DeMayor, DAMAYOR, Timms, into any search engine, and it'll come up. Usually it'll come up on YouTube or something like that. So let me know, because I know some of you have been asking, when are you going to do something on video? If I do it on video, that's what it'll be, a vlog. My podcast, I like to keep it personal and do it on the, without a camera or anything like that, just with the mics in front of you, so you can get that feeling of being personalized, and you can feel that person more like when we were young and we used to listen to the radio, and you got every TV program you could think of came on the radio, and you focused so much because you would be quiet and listen because you didn't want to miss anything, because you didn't have the capabilities of rewinding or any of those things. So I want you to listen to my podcast, and maybe one day I'll come to you with a video. So that's me, and this is me, and I'm done right now, and so I'll sign off, and I hope that you hit me up and we talk about this soon.
All right, I'm with you again. This is Antonio DeMayor, DAMAYOR. You can find me on Anchor FM. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me on YouTube. Anywhere you find me, like it, subscribe. Dislike it if you don't, but subscribe. That way I'll know that you've been there and you're listening. I know that someone is listening. It's pretty anonymous. No one knows that you said thumbs down. No one knows that you said thumbs up unless you tell me. So just leave it there for me. This is to help me, not to hurt me. And on YouTube, when you subscribe, make sure you leave me a message down there at the bottom and say, hey, I like the show, or whatever you want to say. If you want to be an upcoming guest, all you have to do is send me a message at bigdog0862@me.com. Just send me a message at bigdog0862@me.com. I also have a number that you can call in on. It's 785-307-4662. That's 785-307-4662. And you can call me there. You can leave a message, or you can call, and maybe I'll be there to talk to you or something like that. That way you can let me know if you want to be an upcoming guest, if you have a story to tell. Because this is all about experience, strength, and hope. What experience have you went through in your life? How did you gather strength, and where's your hope right now? Where are you going with it? Where are you taking this right now? Where is your future? We don't want to live too much in the past. We want to look at the future as better things. I know a lot of things that happened to us in the past year or two, but hey, let's look forward and see what God has planned for us. See what our things are going to be there waiting for us in the future. Today I have a guest that's a very interesting guest. He's a good friend of mine. I've been knowing him for years. We work together. His name is Kristian James. Kristian is an LMSW. He's in the process of becoming a clinical LMSW, and he has an undergrad in psychology and also an undergrad in family studies. And I think temporarily he's a LMAC. All of those L's, all of those M's, all of those C's, W's, and everything. Also has worked all over the state of Kansas, creating social changes in our neighborhood and helping those who need his help. So I want you to sit back and listen to Mr. Kristian James, and don't forget to like me at the end when you're finished. I'm Tony the Mayor, and you have a good afternoon, evening, morning, depending on when you're listening to me. Thank you very much. Today I have Kristian James with me, the old time friend. We used to work together, case management together, I think, too, and stuff. So
Yep.
I have Kristian James here. Kristian, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So 30 years old, just started working a little while ago doing geriatric psychiatry as a social worker at a small psychiatric unit. Before that, I was running group homes in the state of Kansas for teen males in foster care and state custody. I worked with DCF for quite a while doing investigations for them. Worked with Mr. Timms over at BIPOC Mental Health doing case management. I've been a teacher. I've worked construction. I've been a maintenance man. I've been around the block.
You did it all, huh?
Done it all.
A lot of us have, man. Well, what we're here today for, Kristian, because this is Minority Mental Health Month. Some people call it BIPOC. They gave us another name of Black, Indigenous, people of color. You know, people of color. They might shorten it People of Color Mental Health Month. I didn't see all different type of name for it, and we kind of just want to focus in on that because I can just give you, just a little bit of my story. I think all of us, we work in this business, so we know some of the signals, but then we don't react to the signals of something that might be going on within us when we need to take a break. We need to start connecting all the dots and say, oh, this is wrong. We don't do that sometimes with our own family. At least I have neglected to do it because I'm focusing on so many other things. I grew up in Chicago, and we went through changes and things. When I was young, I told people that I remember cutting up in school a lot, and I was doing that trying to make friends, cracking Richard Pryor jokes and Red Fox jokes. And I was doing all this in school, and they really thought, they said, hey, something must be wrong with this kid. It was a new school, a new neighborhood. I had to make friends some type of way, so they just figured something was wrong, And we didn't look at it too much back then as someone focusing on African-American kids or any other minority with behavior problem. You see the behavior problem, but we didn't look at the ADHD that much or any type of other behavior, that can be associated with that. So how do we really eliminate the stigma of mental health?
I think the first thing we need to do is teach. I think one thing we've all been taught, I was taught as a kid, is just adapt. You adapt to your environment. You adapt to what is around you. And we didn't really look at it as a problem. We figured if you were up moving around, you just didn't have no discipline. But reality is, as we get more advanced and we understand more information and we have access to that information, I think the critical thing is to be able to spread that. Understanding how the brain works, how the brain develops, and understanding how trauma as a small child can affect you growing up is critical to being able to break that stigma. I think a lot of times we just think, oh, the kid just needs a whooping, the kid's just bad. But we got to figure out what's going on with this kid. And even doing geriatrics, I've seen the same thing in kids that I've seen in adults. What happens at a young age can definitely impact negatively adulthood and even on the geriatric side. So I think just bringing that awareness and understanding of taking time, being patient, talking to people and understanding what they've been through, what they're going through, and if it is mental health related, understanding how to work with it and accepting the fact that it's okay to not be okay. And be able to talk about it and begin to work on it.
Yeah, and people, I don't think they understand it either. That I was talking last week on a podcast about how if you took individuals out of their country, brought them in here to America, sold them and made them work. These things, a lot of the behaviors passed down through generations. They were beat. We thought when I was young. I was a young parent. I started parenting when I was 17 years old. And we thought, that the only way a kid is going to get right is through strict discipline, and using physical discipline on them too. Not knowing that things can be carried on for years, and then you got an adult that's committing certain acts and doing certain things. You wondering why he did that. With that being said, do you really think that our mental health, as I talked about the past, is racism affects those who want to get mental health? How we feel, how not just someone racist against them, but us against someone else. We might be racist. Or have that stigma of certain people thinking that, hey, look, I don't think a provider can do this because they don't know. I don't think, because it seems like in America today, race is brought into everything. Yeah. So,
I definitely think it plays a role in it. I think I've even heard myself. You're not black enough to help me. You've never been down the road I've been down. You don't know anything about me. And it gets frustrating because there's a lot of things that overlap in all the cultures, but we tend to just kind of separate. And if you're black, you got this problem. If you're white, you got this problem. But I think if we start to break down those barriers, we start to see that we have a lot of similarities. And trauma is trauma, and mental health is mental health, and problems are problems. And so if we can learn to just accept the fact that here's an issue, black, white, it doesn't matter. Now I think also a lot of that too comes into play with that mindset, that cultural mindset of. And I see it a lot when I talk with African American. Like when you break down different cultures, there's a lot of things that are and are not talked about, especially in African American culture. That's one thing I think we're seeing an increase, but we still have a lot of room to grow when it comes to talking about prosperity and accepting help. A lot of times we're like, if you ask for help, you're weak. You look like a sucker or a punk, and like, why are you being so soft? No, it's not that being soft. I just kind of witnessed a lot of people get killed, or I was abused as a child, or I was molested as a child. But you don't need to talk about that. Leave that alone. And then that's another issue too. Is we've always had, a lot of us have had the mentality of what happens in the home stays in the home. So we don't get out and talk about it. We try to keep that family secret tucked in, and we don't want to go ask anybody for help or admit that something bad happened, and therefore you're causing those generations of just issues after issues after issues.
Man, you were right on point there. I remember in 2019, I spent a week in the hospital, up in Kansas City, and we had one of those processing groups. I knew nothing about. People were using terms and doing things I never heard about. So they said processing. I said, okay, I'll go to that. Man, people were saying some stuff that happened to them as a kid, of things they went through as teenagers. I was sitting there saying, what could I come up with? I don't have not compared to that, but it let me know one thing, Kristian. Everyone has something they've been through, And as we, as African Americans, especially African American males, we don't want to tell nobody. We don't want to look weak or look like that we're. If you ask for help, that we're weak, or if you ask for help, that you're not being a man. You need to stand up and be a man. But sometimes we have problems too. We have breakdowns also, that we feel sorry, we feel depressed. One of the main things, you don't want to hear a man say, not just a black man, men say that they're depressed. That's one of the stigmas that we have, because we say we're depressed. Oh no, you're a weak man, So also, a few of the things that I had looked at and I researched on the internet, they said these are some of the top things that African Americans face, or some of the things that they have that affect them as far as getting mental health care, which is racism, poverty, suspicious of white doctors, and it's just great stigmas anyway in our community. When I grew up in Chicago, I had not for mental health, but my medical doctor, he was black, Dr. Jones. I remember him. I remember this old man. So it was more common. I mean, it felt better to be able to go to someone that you thought understood you. When I was in the military, some of us, when our hair grow, it curls back in, So I was getting razor bumps all the time, right? And I remember going to this dermatologist in the military, and he telling me it's because I wasn't washing my face right. Then the other doctor told me it's because I wasn't shaving every day. And, and I finally went to a doctor, his brother, that was in the military, and told me he's going to teach me how to shave. You're shaving the wrong way. I was young. I was only 18 years old, man. And, I wasn't like I am now to have a beard and everything like that. So as I said, I grew up in Chicago. Up until the 5th grade, I lived in the hood. These things that people be calling the hood now, like Calhoun and a trailer court, that ain't the hood.
Suburb.
I would have rather lived there than living when you're sitting out on your porch and all of a sudden somebody starts shooting and this happening and everything like that. So do you think, or how does poverty affect, like where a person grows up or where they live or anything? How does poverty affect them as far as getting mental health or receiving or getting away from the stigma also?
Well, I think part of the issue is, one, we're not taught to go look. When you're living in poverty, chances are you don't have insurance. Yeah, and I think that's a big issue. Is people think, if I go get help, that's going to cost me money. I don't have time for that. If I go get help and they got to put me on medication, that's going to cost me money. I don't have time for that. I don't have money for that. And so I think that plays a big role into wanting to go get the help. And then also I think typically when you're dealing with generations of poverty, and that's one thing I've looked at in the areas that I've been in. When you're looking at impoverished areas, you tend to see 2 to 3 generations of people live in the same household. So when you're spending that much time together, you have nothing but time to pass those thoughts and the way that you think and those thinking process down to the next generation and to the next generation after that. And so if grandma just believed I just need to pray it out of you, and mama believed I just need to pray it out of you, you just going to grow up believing I just need to pray it out of me. So if I'm acting wrong, that means you're just a heathen. You ain't got no Jesus in you. We just need to pray it out of you. Sometimes the kid got something going on in his head that you just need to get a pill that's going to help balance out those chemicals.
Right.
And that's something that I think we lack on is, again, it comes down to that knowledge. And when you don't have the resources, you don't have the access to the technology, the information, I think that plays a critical role in being able to progress and move forward and be able to make those good judgments. You know what?
The thing I found out is that we'll go to the doctor for the diabetes. We'll get a pill for that, take insulin. We trust in the doctor. We still want to eat that pork and them greens. So we're going to go to the doctor. Balance it out with a pill, for your heart. All that, lungs, we'll go treat every organ, or we'll recognize every organ needs help except for the mind. And we don't want to look at that it's so hard, I think, for, some of them just to admit, I need help, as a man, as a woman, to say, all I got to do is I need help. And with that, when I read earlier about the suspicions of white doctors, or it could be the suspicion of doctors, period, that may not.
They just want my money.
We think of that, and you said as far as poverty, and not just with I like that about the no insurance, because that makes sense. Because a lot of people would say, "Hey, man, I don't need another bill." And even with insurance, we say that. Though nowadays, I could think about years ago how cheap my insurance was compared to now. You tell somebody you got a $40 copay or $60 for a specialist and more for that. People be saying you got. Years ago they would have said that, but that I remember $20 copays. 15. But I think it's within the whole realm of it is that I'm building up to another bill that I have to pay. We, as African Americans, sometimes we don't want that. We don't want to deal with that. May not have it or face the talk. Don't be owing nobody nothing. Just like you said with the prayer. I missed that. About praying it out of them. I talk about that all the time. I think people think that, man, this man must not know Jesus like I know Jesus. But yes, I know Jesus. But I know that if we're gonna trust God to lead, what we say then? We say I'm gonna trust God to lead the surgeon. God gonna guide the hands of the doctor.
Exactly.
But we don't want to trust the psychiatrists or psychologists or anything like that.
They just want our money. They just want to pump us with drugs.
Yeah. So, and as you said already, sometimes a pill may be needed. You may have that kid. I've seen some kids make some miraculous changes just by balancing out and getting the right medication formula right, and just seeing that it just completely change the kid to where he's not trying to control his ADHD in class, and that's why he's not doing this work. That's why he loses focus and everything.
Well, there's a couple things I wanted to hit on too.
Go ahead.
I think one of the issues we have is we tend to normalize the behaviors that need to be adjusted. And so, we just say boys will be boys, and we just, if they're aggressive or violent, we're going to normalize a lot of things that really are really problems. Hypersexualized behaviors, aggressive behaviors. Even with ADHD, like, we don't really know how to control it, so we just kind of put that normal stigma on it. And I think that's something we got to work on too, is being able to identify what those problems are. And that's what's nice about being in this field, is I can go into a room, I can deal with a kid, and I can watch and observe, and then I can start to pinpoint little things that are pretty much textbook to be able to diagnose a kid and see what's going on with them. But I think if we take that normalization away from a lot of these things, and we actually start understanding what's going on, not necessarily saying it's good or bad, but just being able to understand it, it comes back to that knowledge of understanding how things work, how the brain works, and how it develops. The other issue that we have is really getting down and breaking down, understanding the environment that we're in. Our bodies are not designed to adapt to the environments that we're in right now. Sitting in a car for hours, sitting in a classroom for hours. We're animals. You know, put a dog in a cage for hours and see how many behaviors you got. Put a wild animal in a cage for hours and see how many issues that you got. Or try to put them in a box and in captivity and see if those natural behaviors are going to come out and they're going to escalate to a point where you think it's out of control. The environment we're in, we're not designed to sit at a desk for hours. That's why we develop a lot of the issues we have, because we're designed to move. We're designed to socialize. We're animals. And when you take away that, and that's one issue that I have, especially with the school system now, is we're training kids. What do we tell them when they come into class? You're going to sit down, you're going to shut up, you're going to listen. That's not how animals work. That's not how humans work. We're designed to be interactive and be social. So when you take those capabilities away, you're altering the way the brain should be developing. A kid's brain from early childhood up through adulthood should be exploring, learning, talking, being creative, understanding how the world around them works. So when you take that away and shove them in a classroom and just put a sheet of paper in front of them, you're altering the brain ultimately. And so the brain's not able to develop the way it normally would. Hence why you have chemical imbalances and you have social issues where they can't talk, they can't function. They're like, with me, I know now, when I was in school, I know for a fact I had ADHD. I can guarantee it. The one thing that curbed it for me, it wasn't a pill. It's the fact that I knew if I acted up, I was getting a whooping when I go home. I promise you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can't even say it was a cure. It was cure enough.
And see, that's how I believe. I know I had ADHD. I think I asked my mom not too long ago, and she said, no, I never. But I know I had it. I mean, by the way I acted, some of the things, you know, as being in the profession that we're in now, I know that I had it, you know, but. Yeah.
And I didn't get in trouble for being bad in class. I got in trouble for being busy. I would finish my work, so I would build things, and I would build computers out of paper and cardboard, and I would build buildings, and I was busy. So I'd get in trouble for getting my work done too fast and being bored. But I didn't want to sit still, so it's like, well, you got to read a book. I don't have the attention span to read a book right now. My mind is bouncing all over the place. And now that I'm older and in this field, I'm able to understand that, and I'm able to deal with it as an adult. But as a child, it was either you getting a whooping or you're going to sit there and be quiet.
That's right.
And I guarantee you that did more harm than it did good.
And them teachers, they didn't have cell phones when I went to school. Like these kids, I feared that I would have been brought up in this day. But, you know, because the teachers back then say, I'm going to call your mama tonight. You able to grab that phone as soon as it's ringing before your mama answered it. Your mama went at home. But now they got cell phones, internet, text, I mean, email. They're going to get in touch with your mama somehow.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I even think about this. You mentioned about how people are not designed to sit there all that day. Even with, far as during the pandemic, you had kids going back to school. They couldn't even sit next to their peers. They couldn't make friends. They couldn't talk. They couldn't even talk. You know, you got them 6 feet apart. You ain't gonna get in trouble for talking in. But they had, and I think that had a big effect on a lot of kids. I think, you know, and you can see it. I have a lot of clients that's in the middle school level. You know, middle school, and you can see it. I had one client that was cutting up in class, doing little things, and he really smart, genius. And he told me that the reason he's cutting up because he's a hugger, high fiver. You know, like when he do good, he wants to get a high five or that a boy on the back or a hug from the teacher. You know, and they can't do that. You know, and so that affects him mentally. Do you think, you know, as far as not getting off the subject of BIPOC Mental Health Month, but do you think like 20 years from now, how is this going to affect our society?
hope it makes it better, but it's really hard. I think it's too early to tell. I think it's done a lot of damage in the beginning, but I think if we use it right, I think we can make a lot of corrections. That's been one of my biggest issues. I don't think kids need to be sitting in school for as long as they do. Right. It's one thing if I have recess, if I have times throughout the day where I can let my kids interact and they can build those social skills. But it's like we expect them to go sit for an hour at a time for each lesson or each subject. That's a lot of time during the day with those social skills. And if you're like me, you play sports in high school and middle school. So by the time you get out of school, you go play your sports, you do practice, you go to games. You come home, there's like a 3-hour span because you had to get up and leave for school at 6 in the morning. Now you get home 7:30, 8:30 at night. Where's the interaction time? Where's the skill building time? And then you got homework on top of that. And so I think if we utilize what's going on now correctly, I think it has the potential to do good. I think if we go back to the same traditional things that we were using before, I think it's going to do more harm. But I also think now too, we're starting to realize there's a lot of advantages to this. And that's with school. I think that's with work. I don't think we've utilized technology the way we're using now. Like this forced people to get out of their box. It was like Mother Nature was just like, yeah, a little too comfortable. Y'all been doing the same thing for too long. Here you go. And it was, you didn't have a choice, but either you swim or you sink. That's your two options when it came to this. And I think it forced people to really open their eyes and say, what are we doing? Are we doing good enough? Do we need to change it? But I think if we utilize it correctly, I do think that it has the potential to do a lot of good. As crazy as a pandemic sounds.
When this room that we're sitting in right now, when the pandemic started, I don't know, probably started before then, but when we left the office, secure in place, they would call it. What is it? Shut in or whatever. I don't know what the shut in is the church, but when we were not allowed to work in the office and we had to work from home, I thought this is going to be the life. This is going to be easy, man. And Zoom taught me something. I had to learn you have to learn to teach kids behavior skills via Zoom.
When they can't focus.
When they can't focus, You know, they're doing everything else. Somebody walking past in the background, cooking chicken and all that. And you got to worry about that and try to keep their focus. And I sat in this room with just a desk. It ain't like it is now with all this stuff in here. But I had a chair, a desk, and a computer. And I would roll those screens up so I could at least see outside, you know. And it took a toll on me after a while. When I got back into the office, I was like, man, something I did just recently, Kristian, and this is how I think we need to pay attention to our own mental health. You know, me as an African-American man, I want to be strong. I want my wife to see me as strong, as the strength of the family. You know, I'm a lion. Some people, I won't say Leo because I'll lose my Christian population here, you know, listeners. But as a man, period, to be strong like a lion. And I told my wife last year, I was just going through so much. I said, I want to go to Tams, Illinois. It's close to Carroll, Illinois. Down there, ain't nothing down there. My granddad was down there. That's my granddad's house was. And a lot of my cousins, we used to go down there in the summer and stuff. Yeah. And my wife said, well, you want to go there for? I said, it's just a feeling of peace. You know, I feel at peace because I needed peace. And so I end up not going. And I don't know where we end up doing, just driving to Manhattan and back or something like that. But sometimes we, as not just as men, as human beings, we need that thing to where we go back to where something is going to help us. We go back to when I say go back, we go back mentally, but we got to go back and we got to go to a place of just where we feel comfortable, where we feel at peace, because we got to know when it's rising. When it's getting up there, you got to know. You know what I'm talking about?
100%.
Yeah. And so I just went there last month. I just wanted to breathe the air again. Look at the hills. Look at the crops out there. Look at my grandfather's house, because I always thought it's that place of peace and serenity. Yeah. You know, how does that affect us now? Those who need that break. You know, what do we tell them? I mean, what do we do to get them? Because, you know, we got loved ones, we got friends that really need a break.
The biggest thing that I preach is you've got to do it. And the hardest part is I got to practice what I preach. Mm-hmm. I'm very good at telling everybody else what to do.
Exactly.
Terrible at doing it myself. And so I tell you got to force yourself to do it. You've got to make the time. If you don't have the time, make the time. We all got the same amount of time. You might lose a few hours of sleep, but if that means you got to hit the road and go somewhere for a little bit, do it. But it's going to benefit you in the long run. The more you stay in an environment and stress yourself out, you're losing sleep, you're not eating, you're not drinking water, you're just stressed and overwhelmed, it's going to do a lot of damage in the long run.
What are some of the signs that you said losing sleep, not drinking water?
Fatigue, chronic headaches, and these are all, everything I list you is probably something I've been through.
Okay, exactly.
You get physical body aches. Your body is drained. Your mind starts to wander. You get stress knots in your neck and your shoulders and your back. You don't want to get up. There's days where you're like, I enjoy my job, I enjoy my family, but I just want to stay in bed. I have no motivation outside of I have to do this to get up. And sometimes that happens for days or weeks at a time. Or you start getting frustrated and you just start snapping on people. You go off. Right. That's one thing that helped me notice is when people are like, you're not acting like yourself, that's when I know I'm at my boiling point. And it may be something I don't recognize right away, but other people notice it. Right. And so I talk to people. If you're close to me, tell me if you think I'm acting weird. Tell me if I'm acting different. Tell me if I'm a little more reserved than I normally am. Tell me if I seem to be getting a little more cranky, a little more angry than I usually do. If that's the case, then I know I'm at that point. And then also knowing what kind of thing are setting you off. So like when I was in school, everybody knew at the end of the semester for about 2 weeks for that finals time, don't call me, don't text me, don't email me, don't send me smoke signals. I'm going to work and I'm coming home working on papers, and that's it. But I knew that if people bothered me or if I allowed people to interact with me, it's going to affect our relationship at some point. And so, because I knew I was under a ton of stress, I just need to do my thing. And then after that, you can talk to me. You come over, hang out, I'll decompress. Yeah. But I knew that was a time of the year, or that was a season or a point where I knew I had to take a break. I had to do what I had to do and then move forward with it.
You just said something that really struck something, that have someone there, people that know you.
Yes.
And I have people I work with and family members that know me. And you know those people, you know the people that work with me. And I ask them sometimes, am I acting right? Am I okay? And it's nothing wrong with that to ask someone, are you acting? Or they may tell me, because I'm always amped, they say, up here. Say, bruh, it's been time I've been in. I'll say, look, you're going to have to slow down. You're going to have to come. And so we need people in our lives to be able to tell us, that know us, that we're not ashamed to share with, and say, hey, look, I have this. I act like this when I'm feeling this way. So when you see me, we got to be strong enough not to get mad when someone does this. And then,
but you got to recognize those signs yourself too. Know when you're getting upset. Know when you're getting angry. Know when you're getting too exhausted. I thought I'd tell people I can tell I'm getting, like, when I get mad because my change ain't coming out the machine fast enough. You need to take a break. There is not, because it came out 2 seconds too late. Nah, you need to take a break, because it's more than that. You got too much going on. Go take a time out. Go get you some ice cream. Go for a bike ride. Go by the lake. You need to go get some stress off real quick.
I did a few weeks ago. I wanted, not that I eat it often, I've been craving for months a McDonald's cheeseburger. Just McDonald's. I didn't want Hardee's. I didn't want Burger King. I didn't want nobody but McDonald's. And I went, and the line was all the way back to the street. But the lobby was open. I go in the lobby. It's only 3 people there, but those 3 are waiting and been there a long time. And that stress level just built up just because I wanted that cheeseburger. I just said, forget it, and I left. And so like you say, the little things, when they start building up and bother you, your change ain't coming out the machine, the cars are not moving fast enough in front of you, little things. I've been to the point that I've been so stressed that I get mad if I got too many emails. The person, you just email me again, email me, that you don't want to read all those emails and everything. So, closing this out, Kristian, talked about it a little bit earlier, but what can we do to move past the shame and the stigma of mental health?
I think, one, making it normal to accept help needs to be a critical component. I think, 2, obviously the education part, not just about mental health, but encouraging people to get into it. I think we're short on therapists. There ain't enough therapists in the world. I know because I've had caseloads that have been off the chain high. And so encouraging people to not only admit if they have issues, but get into the field and work with people, even if it's a part-time thing, even if you're volunteering, just find a way to help and make it normal and help people to understand the benefits of it. I don't think we truly understand how beneficial it can be. And like I said, when you look at it as a bad thing is, oh, you need help, or oh, you're acting this way, or oh, you got to take medication for this, you're a bad person, or there's something wrong with you. No, sometimes that's just a part of life. And so I think just really making it normal, making people understand, making people aware of it, and making it realistic. Not like you see in the movies of, oh, this person has bipolar, so there is some crazy person that's going on to kill. That's all fiction. That's hyped up for entertainment purposes. So getting to the real understanding of how this works, what things are, I think is really going to knock out a lot of that stigma.
All right. Thank you, Kristian. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you having me.
It's good seeing you again, man. Like I say, we go way back, working together, dealing with the same kids together. And I'm proud of all the, those who may not know, Kristian had more degrees than a thermostat. And he stayed, like you say, stays focused, get the schoolwork in and do that and respected by many. So I appreciate that, and I thank you.
I appreciate you having me.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I'm glad that you tuned in today to listen from the beginning to the end. And I appreciate that. Now, if you want to reach me, you can reach me at bigdog0862@me.com. bigdog0862@me.com. That's my email address. You can also reach me by phone at 785-307-4662. You can leave a message there. You can reach me on the internet. Just type my name into any search engine. And the way you do that is just type in Antonio the Mayor Timms. Antonio the Mayor Timms. Most of all, appreciate when you listen on YouTube, because you can leave a message there. You can leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You can leave a like or dislike. You can leave a comment. But most of all, you can subscribe. So please continue to listen to me and continue to support this show that focuses on experience, strength, and your hope. Thank you. Have a good day. Be blessed. Be nice, but be real most of all.